Disclaimer: the physical appearance of everyone in this video has been slightly altered because the people I'm gonna talk about hate me so much that they would attempt to sue me for making a gotcha video about them. To understand how I got here, I need to tell you about what it took to get my apartment. I moved out of my parents' house 2 years ago, not because I had any problems with my family or anything, I just wanted my own space where I could animate in peace. People over here don't really understand what the concept of being a YouTuber is. And because of this, nobody wanted to let me rent an apartment. So you're 16 and you want to rent an apartment all by yourself with your YouTube job. Sorry, I don't think we have anything for you. I went to every single agency in the entire town and everyone gave me the same response. Then I decided to try my luck online and found this gorgeous apartment that was perfect. But sadly, the company ghosted me after finding out I was a YouTuber. I then brought up my situation to someone from my school while we were chatting, and she said, "Ooh, I know someone that can help you. Here's his number, he'll find you an apartment as soon as possible." This is nice. This apartment has been sold. Bakery dude? The last time I saw this guy was when I was in elementary school. He used to make bread. And it turns out, he's a realtor now. He introduced me to my landlord, and she introduced me to my apartment. And I lived happily ever after in my new home. Except I didn't. If I did, I wouldn't be making this video. I live in an apartment complex. Here's what your typical apartment complex hierarchy looks like. A few months before I moved in, the board members passed a rule to ban kids from playing football. The kids were causing too much noise, sometimes the ball would go through people's windows, and a lot of things would end up breaking. I was made aware of this rule when I signed the contract, because loud kids were one of the main reasons why I moved out from my parents' house. But for some reason, the people here just don't seem to understand what rules are. The parents would encourage their kids to do whatever they want because they're kids, and that means they should have the freedom to play however they like. Words cannot express how loud these kids were. Trust me, I grew up with twin sisters. I know how loud kids can get. These ones were on a whole other level. Every time they would start playing, I couldn't work or sleep. The continuous sound of the ball hitting my wall, followed by the constant yelling, drove me nuts. Not to mention the slurs and insults they were saying makes the League of Legends chat look inviting. This used to be manageable because all I'd have to do was message management and he'd make them stop for at least a few days. Of course, the parents weren't happy that their precious demon children weren't allowed to scream and break equipment all they wanted, but there was nothing they could do about it. Until one day, the management decided to step down, and guess who took his place? I've got a bad feeling about this. Hello. Sorry if I'm bothering you, but could you please tell the children to be a little quieter? They're kids. They're going to be loud. Yeah, but that's why they're not supposed to be playing here. It's in the rulebook if you could just... Oh, so you're the reason why our kids weren't allowed to be kids. Well, guess what? I don't know how you do things in Canada land, wherever that is, but here, kids have rights. The thing is, she was in fact not the manager. Her husband was. She was just micromanaging everything for some reason. And she wasn't doing a good job at it either. She would spend a stupid amount of money for unnecessary decor. She used to complain about how bright these lights were and how she was so grateful that the kids broke it. So she replaced them with these maple lights, which I will admit were actually pretty nice. But only 2 weeks later, she changed them again by lighting the place up like a gosh darn Christmas tree because the poor kids couldn't see in the dark. And once she realized that she used up all the money in the vault over her dumb purchases, she jacked up the maintenance fee. This noise problem has been going on for months, and throughout that entire time, my landlord kept talking about how she was going to sue them, and she needed me to take videos and pictures of the kids as proof. The entire complex has security cameras, but every time she would ask for the footage, they would mess around with it to make it look like nobody was playing that day. So the only way to prove that the football rule was being broken was to snap pictures. For the past few years, I have been in such a miserable state. When I was at my parents' house, I never left my bedroom unless I needed to get more coffee or use the bathroom. And to top it off, I spent hours feeding my terrible gaming addiction in hopes to avoid the reality I was living in. But with this move, I had plans to finally fix my life. I started seeing a psychologist and got diagnosed with some things that gave me some clarity on why I've got the worst posting schedule in the entire gacha community. I started cooking my own meals, tried to become an overall healthier person, started making schedules and checklists. But because of my situation, I just couldn't get anything done. I became nocturnal to avoid the noise of the day, but this led to me missing packages and almost double my electricity bill. I even bought noise-canceling headphones, which led to an ear infection due to excessive use. But despite all of this, I still didn't feel comfortable about secretly filming kids without their consent, like a creep. But after weeks of going back and forth and my landlord pestering and spam calling me, I caved and hesitantly sent her the proof she wanted. But instead of doing the smart adult thing of giving it to her lawyer like she promised, she sent it directly to the manager as a threat. I will always be grateful that she gave me a place to live because nobody else would, but throughout my stay, she's done some pretty questionable stuff too. And this was one of them. The result of this was the manager sending my video that was so obviously taken from my apartment to the complex group chat. And she told everyone, our hacker neighbor is going to sell these videos online and get money from it. When I first met her, she asked me what my job was, and I tried to explain what being a YouTuber is, but apparently it just didn't go through. Everyone in the group chat was going crazy. Angry parents were threatening me and people took turns knocking at my door. Even though what she said was a big fat lie, it didn't matter. Since I barely left my house, a lot of people never even saw me, and there was already a lot of gossip and speculation. So on the rare occasion where I would set foot outside, I'd either get stared at or ignored, which just made me feel bad. All this message did was seal my title as the evil mystery neighbor. Moral of the story, check your facts before spreading rumors, and don't believe everything people say. Don't feel bad for me. I'm currently recording this audio from my new apartment in Germany. My original plan was to force myself to stay in Turkey until high school was finished, but I couldn't do it. To live in Turkey, you need to have somewhat thick skin, and I'm more of a doormat person. 90% of my interactions ended with me either feeling hurt or just put me in a bad mood. I don't know exactly what will happen to me now, but by clicking on this video, you've helped me stay here just a little longer. And for that, thank you.